Sometimes you're not going to be able to use artificial light to film, whether that's because you're outside or you're on vacation or both. It's just not always going to be possible. So in this video, I'm going to tell you the basics of what you need to know to get the best looking videos while still filming in natural light. So my first tip and piece of advice would be to film during golden hour when you can. Golden hour is the first hour before sunrise and the last hour before sunset. And you've definitely seen this in movies and videos. A lot of people love to film during this time of day because that is when the light is at a great angle to film. It's really soft and just the color of the sunlight looks really good. And of course, you're not always going to be able to film at this time of day, but when you can, that is a great time, and not necessarily just the first hour after sunrise or the last hour before sunset, but just around the time after sunrise and around the time before sunset. Even if it's just 2 to 3 hours before dark, anything's better than filming when the sun's directly overhead in the middle of the day. Now my second tip is to film when it's cloudy. And this one isn't just something you should try to do, this is something that you need to be doing. It's more so important when you are filming in the middle of the day. Because think about it, when you're inside you put a diffuser on your light, but when you're outside the clouds act as a natural diffuser to the sun. And by diffusing, I basically mean making the light softer. And you'll notice that as a theme in this video because making the light softer is a very important aspect of filmmaking and making your shots look good. But one important thing to note is when it is cloudy, that's going to lead to a more evenly lit shot, and it's not going to be dramatic at all, just very evenly lit across your subject's face or whatever you're filming. Now my third tip is to treat the sun like a light. When you're outside, the only light you have is the sun, so you might as well treat it like if you were inside and you only had one softbox light. If you were inside and you only had one softbox light, you'd be very strategic where you place that light. But since you can't exactly move the sun, you're just gonna have to move your camera and your subject. One big thing to keep track of is to make sure that the light is never on the same side of the subject that the camera is. No matter what you're doing, it always looks better to shoot on the shadow side of your subject. And when you're outside, it's even more important. And I know it's not always going to be possible, but just like a lot of other things in this video, you're going to have to try to do it when you can. By treating the sun like a light, you can also use it for creative things like silhouettes. For example, if it is sunrise or sunset, you could do that. Or you could even get a reflector and try to reflect the light to add more light. Really, whatever you want. Just keep that in mind that the sun is a light, so use it like one. Now my fourth tip is to use an ND filter, and I'll quickly explain what that is. An ND filter is basically a filter that you put on your camera that blocks out some of the light. The use of an ND filter is when you're filming and you want to keep your shutter speed at a certain number and your aperture at a certain number, but then the shot is way overexposed, so when you go outside, you can just pop that on, and if you get a variable ND filter, you can just adjust that to whatever you like, so that way it's exposed perfectly while still having the right camera settings. The ND filter I use is only about $40. It's a variable ND filter. It works really well. It's really good quality. I'll leave the link in the description if you want to check it out. Now my fifth tip is to color grade your footage. The problem is when you're outside, you have a lot less control of the environment than you do when you're indoors. So a lot of the creative process happens in the edit instead of when you're actually filming. The mood the video has from the natural lighting outside isn't always the mood you want your video to have. Now whether that's making a cloudy video look a lot blue and darker, or a video during sunrise or sunset look a lot warmer, really whatever you want to do, just make sure you at least do a little bit of color grading or adjusting to make sure the video has the mood you want it to. I hope some of these tips helped. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.